Disclaimer, I don't own any of these characters, and this is a spoiler warning for all the Rocky movies that are coming out. You know the gig, I'm going to be rating every single Rocky movie. Once again, I don't own these characters, and this is my opinion, not true fact or anything, just my opinion, and this is just a honorable respect for the great Carl Weathers as he has sadly passed away. And I'm going to at least probably mention him a few times in this movie. But God bless his soul and enjoy the video. The first ever Rocky movie, and probably considerably the only best Rocky movie in history. And it really holds up a lot for how old it is. It is still a great movie, a great inspiring movie to watch. It's something that just made me gasp when I first watched the movie. It was great, made me fall in my chair. And, it was portrayed by the great actor. The main character is in this, and he's the writer as well, is the great and only Sylvester Stallone. A considerably good writer and honestly great actor, too. He's really good in the role as making his own show or movie and then making it into his own thing. It's perfect with the character that he makes. And I got a lot of things to say about the movies. First of all, I love Rocky. Rocky's really cool. He oddly reminds me of me for some weird reason. Just characters that want to work something out together. A character that wants to pretty much is only good with his hands and he wants to do stuff with that since that's the only thing he can do. I can sort of relate to that. I love that. Somebody that can't use a brain, you know what I'm saying? But I'll be honest, it's a really good movie. I love Rocky, honestly. And I'll say this, and this is even mentioned by the movie Sly, Sylvester Stallone amidst this, is that it is not a stupid action movie. It is not all that. It's a love story. It is a love story about a character who wants to live a life and get a stronger life and do what he wants to do that he loves and wants to take care of the things he loves the most. Him with characters like Paulie and Adrian, it falls into that very well. And him and Adrian are like perfect couples. I consider them cute together. And, I like it a lot. A guy who is only good at his bronze and a woman with her intelligence. It's something interesting. It's old fashioned, but that's kind of what it is. It's an old movie. But I consider it probably the best. And I really love it so much as I can definitely see it as a love story. It's definitely not action and whatnot to me. I do see it as a love story. And honestly, I love Mickey as a character. Mickey is so inspiring. He honestly kind of does remind me of my father, a guy who can just make speeches and make sure you're not a little suck up or a little baby. I like that. I like that a lot. And he's a really inspiring character. I like him a lot. And of course, we could not forget the GOAT himself, Apollo Creed. Apollo Creed was a very good character and not only just a villain, you can see him as a guy who just wants to be. It's like I can see him in a villain in this. It's just a guy who wants to make good money and just work his way up and stuff. And I can see him. He wants to go to the top. He wants to make this boxing career entertaining. And so far he did with a southpaw versus an actual professional boxer. And I just love these characters together. Him and Rocky are characters that I see are perfect characters that are just born to fight against each other. It's like Sasuke and Naruto, you know what I'm saying? But all in all, the Rocky movies were considerably the best. You can see it as a really good love story, but you can also see the fun and action to it. I consider this to be a good thing, and it just inspires me a lot, and I see it as a really good message too, as this message kind of shows is that you can always take a beating. You got to dish the beating that you get in life. There's going to be a lot of bad and horrible things in your life, and that goes further on in the future. In the first future Rocky movie, you'll see when I review it soon. It doesn't get a lot of praise for it, sadly, but I still consider it a good, inspiring quote from what I see from Rocky. It was beautiful. Honestly inspired me a lot. And I really see this as a really good movie, a beautiful story, and as a good stuff. And so that's really it. So if I literally have to rate the Rocky movie, the first ever Rocky movie. You know I'm going to give that boy a 10 out of 10. It was pitch perfect. I think it was beautiful, and I like the story and the message in general. So I rate it a 10 out of 10. Now, let's rate the second movie, Rocky 2. Rocky 2 is basically just a upgraded version of the first one. This one's going to be probably obvious of my rating too, how much I really love this version of the Rocky movies. It comes down to my soul very much, and I love it for what it is and what it does. It's considerably really cool. The message is more beautiful in this one too, as it provides more about family and, you know, it's life struggles and stuff. It's much more deeper in this one too, and actually more shown in this one. As you see finally that Rocky has been against Apollo Creed, they actually gain a lot of money and stuff. And Rocky wants to go and just support his family and provide for Adrian. He wants to show his love for him and his care. And then they get married. He gets married to him, and even creates a child for the family, and it's really beautiful. I like how Rocky's shown and stuff. And then we get an even more truthful message in this one, is that it shows that when you even have a good life like this, when you grow up, you're still going to have struggles. Rocky, after all of these crazy news, the things that have been going on with him and Rocky, is that no matter, even though he got a lot of money, doesn't mean that he's going to survive well or can survive well. He tries to make money off of jobs and whatnot and still couldn't do it after all, since he can't really read good and much more. He had a struggle in life. And Rocky has gone through a lot of things. He even tried to work in a manual labor factory, the little meat place where he would usually go to train, as he usually just works there just to make him money and provide for his family, which is pretty interesting for someone like Rocky, who wants to be a man who wants to take care of his family, and I consider that amazing. It's a man who wants to give his family everything, wants to show them how much he loves them, and it's pretty cool and stuff. And him and Mickey are still wonderful people. I really love Rocky and Mickey's relationship in this even more. It's gotten even better to me, and I support it a whole lot. Him and Paulie are all right. They're okay. Even though those years of Paulie being a jerk, it's pretty beautiful to realize that they're still friends and gotten better every single day. And I love this. I love the dynamics and stuff, and it just gotten even better. After all the years, Rocky is fed up. He's ready to go fight Apollo and stuff, and it gotten even better when his son was born and Adrian actually gives him the chance to go fight Apollo, go up against him and win. And I love that scene. That was a beautiful scene to realize not only the birth of his child, but another second fighting redemption for his family, which I consider that a beautiful sign and a beautiful look. And oh my God, the training is the best thing in the entire, it's my favorite part of the movie as well. It's one of my favorites. You get all this cool stuff about the story and the family ship, but it gets even better when you see Rocky training. The I'm Gonna Fly song got even better to me. I even love the lyrics more than before, and I consider it just really awesome training. Him training with Mickey was probably a cool scene, and I really enjoyed it. And do not get me started on the fight scenes, on the official fight. The official fight between Rocky and Apollo. These two characters are like peas in a pod. They are going left and right. And I didn't even mention about Apollo. Apollo, instead of being some businessman for boxing, has just gotten even better as a character in the story. He wants to not only show that he and prove that he's a worthy opponent and a worthy man and should be respected for what happened. He wants to show the world that that this chance can happen. It's possible. And he wants to show that nothing's rigged. He wants to be a different person. And he doesn't want threats from his kids and stuff, so you can tell that there's some care in there. You can see that this man wants redemption, and he's going to do it against Rocky. And I love that. Apollo starts training, Rocky starts training. They train to their fullest. They're both going through their peak physical. And that got even more interesting to me and other people. And as soon as they start the round, it goes well and whatnot. It seems like Apollo is getting a hand, but it seems like Rocky's not even falling. He's not even wanting to fall or go down. And that's a huge respect that I like to see a lot. And then when you see it more further, goes even further into the round, you see there's more blood. There's more fighting in this one. There's more anger. It's showing two people who are so bloodlusted to do for their family, friends, or whatever, their sign, their redemption, their pride, whatever, they're willing to do it all in a fight. And it shows how much that Rocky and Apollo have somewhat of a respect for each other, as the latter and them keep seeing each other as one and the same, but also seeing each other as enemies. It seems why you can see them as friends in the future and probably good rivals at the end. This is a pretty interesting scene, and I really love the ending where Rocky and Apollo fall down, and as soon as the Apollo sees Rocky getting up, he sees that there is really no point in fighting. So he's like, you know what? I'm done. I can't fight this man. And Rocky wins, and it's a pretty better scene than before. I like how you decided to do a second movie on a character who doesn't win and make him win in the future. It's kind of it's like a nice little soft nudge and a little holdback, and it still lives up to it very perfectly in today's standards and to my standards most likely. And this one's pretty obvious of what I'm going to rate this second Rocky movie. I rate this one also a 10 out of 10, a perfect movie. Pretty much I see it as an upgraded version of the first one. Now we get on to Rocky 3. Honestly, this one is kind of in the between, the middle child of every movie that even counts the Creed movies. But I still think this one holds up to date. I think this one also shows more of Apollo than all the other movies combined, which I absolutely love. This third movie has not only a passion for one character like Rocky, but every other character in the franchise itself. Paulie's more shown to be in there. Adrian's still more shown, and Rocky is still the main character and the main guy, the main focus. But you can also focus on other characters like Duke Jr., or sorry, not Duke Jr., what the hell am I saying? Duke and Apollo himself, which is a entire big thing I'm going to get into and probably my favorite thing about this. There's not much I can say, but I do like how this one shows how boxers can lose their streak because of how they act or what they're doing. And I think that can be a really good sign for most boxers in general, where it's like you can't be too cocky or you're going to lose your stuff. And that's what happened to Rocky. Considerably, one of his worst lives that has happened to him to this day, one of the worst things has ever happened to Rocky was that he lost the boxing ring while Mickey was sick and ill. And then Mickey passed away, which honestly, I actually almost cried too, because I really did see Mickey in Rocky's eyes, like a father figure. So it was really sad to realize that that Rocky's trainer slash friend or family, Mickey, passed away and died. Which, by the way, the real life actor who plays Mickey also sadly passed away. God bless his soul. But it's a really good sign how he's never been forgotten, and there's still such thing as Mighty Mickey's Gym, which is a good memoration for Mickey, which I really love. I really love that, and there was a few scenes of remembrance of him. But then you got the GOAT himself, Apollo Creed, being an absolute G and helping out Rocky. He literally looked at Rocky and said, "That ain't you. That's something else. That was not you. You did not have that eye of the tiger. I'm going to give it to you." And then we had this entire thing of Rocky changing, moving forward, and actually becoming really good close friends with Apollo, which I love it. I really also like to see the scene where he just admits that he has fear, that he is afraid, that he blames himself. It shows more of his humble side than anything else, and I consider that like my favorite thing about it in Rocky 3 is that you see more of him blaming himself for what happened. And I absolutely love Clubber. Clubber is menacing. He's a man with no control. He will absolutely destroy you. That Clubber Lane is an absolute beast. You know, he deserved to be mentioned or be no because that man was an absolute monster. And I absolutely do not blame him for like freaking winning, dude. It's like that was pretty insane. And I like that a lot. That was pretty epic. Clubber was an absolute menace. But I would say who is a more menace is the main character himself, Rocky, after the whole training with Apollo. That whole thing, Rocky was ready. The fight scene was more interesting. I can definitely tell that there was a different fighting style to Rocky than all the other fighting, which is really good. I really like that there can be small differences in this. And I really love this one a lot. It's really basic and simple, but it's also really good. You not only show just Rocky, you show other characters too that are very important in the Rocky franchise. And I absolutely love that. And I consider this really good. I will admit, I sadly hate to say that there doesn't really hold up to any of the other Rocky or the first ever Rocky movies and stuff. But I will admit this one still kind of stands and is pretty much on a strong point and is at least not the worst one of the bunch. So I'll definitely give it that. And how I'm going to rate Rocky 3 is that I am going to rate it, I would say, a 8 out of 10. Actually, I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10 because not only did it show so much characters, but it showed a lot more depth into Rocky and how he has changed to a better man. And I love it. His friendship with Apollo Creed has increased even better, and I love it. And I feel like it deserves it. Now we get on to the my favorite Rocky movie ever, Rocky 4. Rocky 4 is considerably one of my favorites and one of the most funnest ones ever. You can see the campiness in this one a lot. It's more like a comic book than it is more realistic. You know, you get a weird scene of like a robot or something. You get a Ivan Drago, like a villain who's just out in America ready to beat the hell out of someone to death, you know, some master plan. Even succeeds. And you get to see all this other wacky stuff that's going on in this movie, which is just absolute cool. But it fits the theme that this is in, surprisingly. It doesn't, like, fully go off the rails that it's not even a Rocky movie. It still fits in the world of Rocky, you know, surprisingly well. And I still consider this probably one of my favorites because of how fun it is, how I enjoy this movie much more. First of all, I'm going to get it out of the way. Everybody knows about this in the movie. Is Apollo's entrance is absolutely cool. I love the entrance with Apollo was so goated and stuff. And the Living in America song was absolutely awesome. I loved it. But in all seriousness, this one's the biggest one. Apollo's death was honestly the saddest thing ever. And it's a really horrible to see Rocky and Apollo next to each other while Apollo's laying down dead on the floor. It's a terrible callback to the real life actions of what actually happened with Carl Weathers and Sylvester Stallone, as Sylvester Stallone is still alive while Carl Weathers is sadly passed away. And it's so sad to realize, but I feel like Apollo went out perfectly fine as the way he wanted. Apollo went out like a man. He went out like a fighter, and that's absolutely something I could respect from someone like Apollo. And I love this movie so much of how crazy it can get and how cool. Because if you went up against Ivan Drago, you would have been dead. And I gotta say, Ivan Drago is an absolute menace. Killed the goat of himself, Apollo Creed, and is an absolute just massive man. And the actor himself, who played the Punisher, by the way, mind you, is an absolute goat, dude. He's so cool. And this man is an absolute beast compared to Rocky. And the whole David Goliath thing, that is absolutely true. I never want to be near this. Like, realistically, if you were fighting against Ivan Drago, scientifically, this is true, by the way, your head or your skull would have been shattered if you absolutely fought against Ivan Drago. If I went up against him, my head is going the other way. That's how powerful it is. I literally looked at it, the movies, and how strong or how powerful he hits 10 times harder than Mike Tyson. I ain't doing that. I ain't fighting him. Hell no. Not in a million years. And I love the training scene. The training is much more cooler than I expect to me. And it's like you see Rocky training with old school things while you see Ivan Drago with this new futuristic tech. And it's absolutely just crazy. It's so cool too. It's so off the walls and so cool. I enjoy this a lot. It's a really cool back and forth scene. But what I consider my most honestly favorite thing in the movie is the fight itself. It made the fight in the movie much more intense and much more fun because you get this character, Rocky, who is American, to go into this Russia area where obviously the odds against him is so high. Him winning is like so low. It is super low. And all the little cheap shots and whatnot that Ivan Drago can do, he can most definitely do and get away with it. It's absolutely insane, especially going up against an absolute man who can break your rib and break your head a piece. Like, that's how wild it is. And honestly, Ivan's entrance was absolutely freaking terrifying, and it was really cool too. You see these two characters just looking at each other, wanting to kill each other. It's absolutely amazing. The fight starts. The fight goes crazy. Ivan Drago gets the better on Rocky. Rocky has been thrown around. He's being beaten to death. Like, he's being plummeted to the ground. It's absolute massacre on Rocky, but Rocky's not giving up. He's still getting up. He's not giving up yet. He's still moving. He's still going. He's not done. And it gets even crazier when you get to the second round and a few other rounds, is that Rocky is still getting absolute beaten until he gets into a corner. He's starting to take actual shots. Rocky's getting actual shots on Ivan Drago. He's hitting, he's beating, he's bruising him. And then Rocky absolutely gives Ivan Drago a mean hook, a very mean, nasty hook, which actually cut Ivan Drago. And this man is supposed to symbolize an invincible person. He's supposed to be invincible. And, and that's an absolute shock how everyone just sees him get cut and Rocky just absolutely going at him. He's done. He's getting angry. And just keeps going forward and forward with Ivan getting more angry, Rocky getting more angry. It's two guys in a ring killing each other. And it's an absolute beautiful thing to watch. It's an absolute crazy massacre of a scene. And I actually enjoy it. I like this a lot. And Rocky officially winning was absolute crazy. Obviously, crowd goes wild and whatnot. And Ivan actually winning, or sorry, not Ivan, Rocky actually winning the fight was pretty good, especially at the end where they give a message saying that if I can change and you can change, everyone can change. So that's a really good sign. And what he kind of means by that, I feel like, is that no matter what you are or who you are, or no matter where you're at or where you live, no matter how different you are, you're still a person. You're still a human. We live in the same world. There's nothing different to us, and we can change for the better. And I like that message a lot in the Rocky franchise, and arguably my favorite thing too here. So if I had to rate Rocky 4, I would give it a 10 out of 10. It's sadly not very comparable to the first one, but I honestly do see this as probably the better Rocky version, and a lot of other people would agree too. Now let's get on to Rocky 5, one of the people's least favorite movie. And I can kind of see it too. Sylvester Stallone also wasn't really a big fan of this movie. And I kind of understand why. The movie is a bit just way lower down than all the other Rocky movies that you see. This is more not even off the rails to the Rocky we were starting with earlier. This is just a very watered down version of Rocky. But the only main reason why I like this movie probably a little bit more than most people hate it for, because I want to give it at least some credit, is that we get something interesting and new. And it's not only that we give Rocky a growth, but I also like how it's more dynamic about the family. I like how it's more humanizing Rocky again, like last time. And, I wasn't fairly sad about how it was a little bit more less crazy than the last movies. But I feel like this Rocky movie kind of deserves at least a little bit of credit, as I kind of saw a few things that I did like in the movie that made me feel like a little bit like happy and kinder joy. We get more involvement with Rocky and Rocky Jr. / Robert. Now, you get more of a relationship between these two people, which sadly, speaking of which, the actor who play sorry, I forgot to realize I did a little bit of research. This is actually Sylvester Stallone's son who played Robert in Rocky 5. He sadly, tragically passed away, and obviously this is a very devastating for someone like Sylvester Stallone, and that's all I gotta say, and may he rest in peace. I really loved how Rocky Jr. was kind of growing to be more like his father. When he started living in Philadelphia, he never had the struggle life compared to his father. That's why he had a hard time with students or people. It's kind of like, imagine Rocky kind of first started off in Philadelphia when he was born, It's like kind of focusing on the struggle between that, and I like that a lot. And you see a cool little fight scene or where Robert is starting to learn how to fight more and more like his father, and he starts learning from behind the scenes. And I'm going to get this one out of the way. Tommy Gunn. Tommy Gunn was a pretty interesting character. I sort of liked him, even though it was a bit like one of the weakest characters I've probably seen compared to most other characters like Clubber or fucking like Ivan Drago or whatnot. Compared to those people, Tommy Gunn is sadly a very loose cannon of a villain, even though he was played by the great Tommy Morrison, who also tragically passed away. Rest in peace, Tommy Morrison. You're a great guy, too. But it was pretty upsetting. But I feel like Tommy Gunn was probably an offsetting character. But I did like Duke in the movie. Duke surprisingly, people don't know this, but in the boxing career, there has been shady deals going on at that time, and still is to this day, actually, that there has been a lot of people that can get a lot of money just by using these boxers or these fighters at like pretty much whatever they want, or they win a fight and stuff. Pretty much they can get a low time boxer, get them up to the ranks, and make a lot of money off of it and throw the boxer away. That's actually plausible. That can happen, and it's all about the money and stuff. And I really like Tommy's growth for being like, he wants to be also a boxer and be himself. He doesn't want to be in Rocky's shadow. And I like that as well. It's all right to me. And him and Rocky kind of were like peas in a pod. And I really enjoyed how Rocky and Tommy Gunn, it was kind of normal for them to be in the two. But I never expected Rocky to be separate from his family compared with Tommy. It's just kind of weird, especially when he starts dissing away from his own child. But nonetheless, at the end of the day, I like it. But there's one thing I like as well. Of course, once again, you guys already know my favorite thing in the Rocky movies is always the fight scenes. The fight scene is pretty all right. I liked it a lot. There's one scene in particular that I really enjoyed and really like, and here it is.
Get up one more round. Get up! Don't lay it down like this guy hard. Come on! He's no machine. I didn't hear no bell. Get up, you son of a bitch. Mickey loves you.
That scene symbolizes a lot of crazy things. One of them is obviously the bad, horrible memories of Rocky stuff. What would have happened to Rocky if he was fighting Ivan Drago? In that scene, it symbolizes that Ivan Drago could have literally killed Rocky, and Rocky would have died at that ring. But there has been always an angel on his shoulders, a man who is giving him a fight to stand, and that is Mickey. Mickey is the guardian angel, as he has always been by Rocky's side. He has always been there for Rocky the most, and he has loved the kid no matter what. And Mickey is just a giant angel on his shoulder and a very respectable guy. And I really like that scene. It's a really beautiful, touching scene. I feel like this symbolizes Mickey's memory and how he was. And I honestly enjoyed that scene a lot more than I expect. So, out of all the things, I will admit, sadly, this Rocky movie is kind of the least favorite, and it's not personally my favorite either. But I feel like people are a bit harsh on the movie, and I feel like it doesn't deserve that much hate than it. And I feel like it should deserve a little bit of respect, as it has some of its moments, which is really nice. And for my rating for the movie, I will give it a 4 out of 10. Now we get to a least popular movie as well, as this one is kind of more oft forgotten and is more stuck with the past. But honestly, that's not only the main purpose of the movie, but I really like how this movie shines more than Rocky 5. If you kind of replace this one with Rocky 5, replace Rocky 5 with this movie, honestly, there won't be that much of a difference. Besides, it's a smidge bit better to me, actually. I really like how Rocky has gotten older. Has there been a lot of changes in this world, and Rocky's still stuck in the past with everything happening. He opened up a restaurant called Adrian's, and even worse thing is that this is probably the saddest thing that I have probably seen in a this is probably one of the worst things I have probably ever seen Rocky have. He has lost his wife Adrian to cancer, just the character, by the way, just the character. Adrian has died of cancer, sadly. The only friend or person he has known and truly cared about is Paulie. Paulie's been on his side for a while. He has been struggling with his own son, Robert, as the relationship has gone more less tight, and there's haven't been more struggles between the two. And it's really sad to me, but I also like the good things that you see, like Little Marie and Rocky. The few scenes I have with Little Marie and Rocky is pretty sweet. It's an honest, nice gesture to see that Rocky still has his humble side and that he's still a honest and respectable guy, and he just wants to take care of people that he sees, and he just wants to treat them with at least respect. And I really love the dog, the one where he starts trying to own a dog because it reminds him of him. That was pretty funny, and I actually kind of liked it. I thought it was adorable. And there's one thing that everybody loves it. I love it. Is not only my favorite quote, is the quote that I will never forget to this day. My own dad, when me and him watched this movie together, I think, and he told me, when you listen to that quote, that's a quote you're going to need to listen for the rest of your life, because I want you to have that quote. And that quote is amazing. So I'll give you the quote that Rocky says right now.
And it's going to end up bad for me.
You think I'm hurting you?
Yeah, in a way you are.
It's the last thing I ever wanted to do.
I know that's not what you want to do, but that's just the way that it is. Don't you care what people think? Doesn't it bother you that people are making you out to be a joke and that I'm going to be included in that? Do you think that's right? Do you?
You ain't gonna believe this, but you used to fit right here. I'd hold you up and say to your mother, this kid's gonna be the best kid in the world. This kid's gonna be somebody better than anybody ever knew. And you grew up good and wonderful. It was great just watching you every day. It was like a privilege. Then the time come for you to be your own man and take on the world, and you did. But somewhere along the line, you changed. You stopped being you. You let people stick a finger in your face and tell you you're no good. And when things got hard, you started looking for something to blame, like a big shadow. Let me tell you something you already know. The world ain't all sunshine and rainbows. It's a very mean and nasty place, and I don't care how tough you are, it will beat you to your knees and keep you there permanently if you let it. You, me, or nobody is gonna hit as hard as life. But it ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. How much you can take and keep moving forward. That's how winning is done. Now, if you know what you're worth, now go out and get what you're worth. But you gotta be willing to take the hits and not pointing fingers saying you ain't where you wanna be because of him or her or anybody. Cowards do that, and that ain't you. You're better than that. I'm always gonna love you no matter what. No matter what happens. You're my son, you're my blood. You're the best thing in my life. But until you start believing in yourself, you ain't gonna have a life.
That scene was pretty obviously one of the most important things that I've ever seen. And I want to get, obviously, the biggest thing of all. Mason Dixon is pretty forgettable to me. I'm not a big fan of Mason Dixon. It's just a forgettable character and stuff. I didn't really care that much about it. And he was just really a boring villain or person to go up against. You know, I just didn't care about him that much. And the fighting, it was actually all right. It wasn't too bad. And I kind of like this old versus new boxing ring. And was really all right. It was just an all right video or like fight scene to watch. And it was just not that bad. I thought it was pretty cool. And I find it amusing and enjoyable, and I found it pretty interesting. So, if I had to rate Rocky Balboa, the movie, I would rate this at least either... This one's hard, because I would want to go half, but I also want to go 6, because I think it is a bit better than the fifth one. I'm going to give it 5th, since it's just technically a better version than the 5th Rocky movie, so... Alright, I'm technically going to speed run through the Creed movies since this is more of a Creed than it is a Rocky movie. It still has, obviously, Rocky in it and still written by Sylvester Stallone or, you know, a little help from Sylvester Stallone. And it's still in the Rocky universe, so I might as well just count every single Creed movie, too. Might as well count it as well, and I'm going to just speed run through it. Creed 1 is honestly a compare to Rocky 1. I feel like these two are very comparable, and I really like the Creed 1. And no matter what, I'm just going to say this. The soundtrack, the music is absolutely bomb. It is the literal bop to me. I enjoy one of the Creed music so much. Every single Creed movie that has been made has really such a good movie. I can't not stand about that. But anyways, I like this one a lot because it obviously shows the relationship between Adonis and Creed and what the heck? Adonis and Rocky. And I like that a lot. And I really like the relationship between Bianca and the others. And, you know, I really enjoyed this movie a lot. And I would rate this one probably a 10 out of a 10, since this one is very comparable to me to the Rocky 1 movie. Now let's get started with Creed 2. Creed 2 is honestly more interesting than the other Creed movie. Sadly, I wouldn't compare Creed 1 to Creed 2, as Creed 1 is still a huge memory of not only the Rocky franchise, but I do like how this one started. But this one is honestly more interesting compared to all the other Creed movies. I like how Victor and Ivan is like there, and I really like how Ivan is back in to claim his title again and become another champion. And I really like how Ivan and Victor were so suitable in the second movie. And I like how this movie also parallels to Rocky 2. This one's also a very nice one. I really enjoyed it. And, of course, I really loved Adonis's look in the second movie when they go fight Victor. I like his look a lot more. And I really enjoyed this movie a lot. The fight scenes were more better, I would say, because it's obviously basically a Rocky and Victor or Ivan Drago type of fight. And I enjoyed it a lot. And if I had to rate this one, I would at least rate it an 8 out of 10. Now Creed 3. Creed 3 is very, how I think is a good, interesting idea of a character's past, of a story. This one, sadly, to me, was kind of more of the weaker Creed movies, but I also thought this one's more of a strong movie because of its future lining for the people in this future. If there is going to be a Creed 4, I'm pretty excited. I hope there will be. But I very much enjoyed this one. Diamond Dane, I love I love that character. I love Damien as a character. He was pretty interesting. He gave me a Clubber Lang vibe, which I obviously really liked. And I thought he was a pretty interesting character, especially how he was very comparable to Clubber Lang. And I very much enjoyed that a lot. And Adonis's new outfit and the full white is very awesome. The yin and yang thing was pretty cool with the black versus white thing, with of course Adonis being white and Dane being black. And I really enjoyed that one a lot. And the fighting was more intense in that one, which I actually enjoyed a lot. And I will admit, as much as Dane wasn't really the strongest character, he was a very interesting and very technique character, especially for human emotion. And I enjoyed that. So if I had to rate the Creed 3 movie, I would rate it probably at least a 6 out of 10. Now, that was my rating for every Rocky movie in Rocky franchise. I hope you guys really did enjoy this video. This took me so long to do and so long to make, and I really enjoyed this one. Sorry there was a lot of 10 out of 10s, like ones there, but I really do like the Rocky franchise. That just kind of proves and show how much I just really enjoy the franchise, how much I love Rocky movies or Rocky in general, and I find it very enjoyable and amusing. And there's no denial that the Rocky movies have put something in my heart that was very special to me. And, I'm very biased by the movie, but I don't think it's the best thing in the entire world. Like, I compare this to Marvel movies, sadly. I still think that Rocky movie was really good, and I feel like it deserves a lot of praise, as it is a very deserving and great movie. And I bet there's a good reason why it became so famous, and I really enjoyed it. So, thank you guys for watching, and just have a great day. I'll see you guys later. Peace out.